Alrighty, we are live, and let me just double check some things right now. Come on, YouTube. Don't. All right, cool. We're live. It's been quite a while. Happy Thanksgiving to all. I think it is the time of Christmas prep, Xmas prep, what have you? Question mark. Anyways, yeah, just figured I'd drop this while I have some free time, and fingers crossed, it turns out okay enough. So, um, at time of recording, I think no one is watching, but that's all good. Um, Let me just professional streamer here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, there we go. Alrighty, yeah, there wouldn't be a negative 2A1G without me using Google Sheets inappropriately. So, as the description thingy thing says, I figured I would wrap up some minor loose ends on the most recent live that I did, the solo one rather in here. And in which case I referenced the investment potential for the Japanese VTuber companies, the only publicly tradable ones that I'm aware of. Uh, One of the important things to note is that volume and liquidity of an asset, and we're talking stonks here, so that is an asset, generally speaking, it should be. Uh, that matters, and that matters an awful lot. And for whatever reason, the ADRs, if not the underlying, was relatively illiquid, and that can mean some things. So if someone were to, and full and fair disclosure, I did have a limit order. I placed a good to cancel one, never executed. It could trip in the future, maybe not. And I'm not telling you what to do with your money. It's just more so that that allocation really matters, and being aware of what you're asking for when it comes to certain things, whether you're deliberately asking, or just not paying attention and oh, it's there. Um, so in the case of the Japanese VTuber companies, it was, or any company really for that matter, with any sort of like publicly traded stock or some sort of financial instrument, um, whatever asset you're buying. If there's low liquidity, then anticipate a wild, wacky ride, which means one of two things. You can be responsible, or like know yourself, have a small, respectable allocation size, keep it reasonable, and by reasonable, I like me personally, my own Bing rocks together. We're talking like roughly 1%, if that. The size for basically like a speculation. And if it all goes wrong, then you're at 1%. But if it does well, then we'll see. um Fuhat, Fuhat, you're in here. You didn't buy the shark company. Again, though, like, I'm not overly sad. Like, I still have a good to cancel order, limit order. If it happens, it does. If it doesn't, it's whatever. um it's just a fact of life. um and the important thing though is, like, you're okay with whatever circumstances happen. And low liquidity, low volume, a lot of wacky stuff can happen. You can expect almost like pencil in a bumpy ride, which is why I tried to cautiously say everything that, like, from a fundamental perspective, the company looked very strong, or both companies looked quite respectable on financial statements. But something like volume, traded volume, matters, and that is why I don't necessarily want to, strongly advocate for relatively low market cap or small market cap company with pretty low volume to basically, those are like almost like your standard stereotypical hallmarks of like a pump and dump setup. So I personally, from an outside and early glance looking in, think it's just because they're Japanese companies. There's macro forces at play, but that's just my opinion. So I could be wrong. So, anyways, with that loose end tied up, let's see if it all goes wrong. You'll cry. You'll force it to go through. You're gonna get this dub. Uh, nah, yeah, I'm not naming names here, Fuhat. I am definitely not naming names. Um, but yeah. So, all right. The core purpose of this live stream. Uh, the core purpose would be academia. I came across the business model canvas through academia, and um, people have strong opinions about academia. How my 2 nights? I'm a little tired. I'm EP. I'm out of it, but it's fine. Anyways, academia. Academia and our core topic. So people have strong opinions about academia, right, wrong, fair, unfair, and I will leave that to you, the viewer, singular viewer, right now. But in the future, who knows? Uh, to be judge and jury, maybe even executioner. Nah, I'm joking around. Hey, Dex, you're also here. Hi, Dex. Um, so yeah, you guys didn't miss out on anything. Core content is a coming. So business model canvas uh, and academia. It's how I came across it. Um, and the business model canvas came from find people at Strategizer, revolutionizing the world of innovation. And it would appear that many business schools have implemented or will teach rather the business model canvas. So if it's academia, people have strong opinions. Naturally, people should have some strong opinions about this. And what I would like to do is I'd like to try and present what the hell the business model canvas is. And we you the viewer can decide for yourself. Uh, and I'm tripping over my words here, but it's it's funny because while academia rightfully in some cases should get crapped on, uh maybe it's a little unfair. And I will have to like backtrack really really hard and do a lot of like devil's advocating here, because when it comes to the world of business, or in particular the world of entrepreneurship, because this is how I came across the business model canvas. Entrepreneurship happened to be one of the general requirements for me getting my degrees that I'm still working on. And you would think that entrepreneurship is something that you learn by doing. Why the hell is it in academia? That sounds silly. That sounds stupid. Because academics, the stereotype often is lofty ideas in an ivory tower, uh, that are novel, that are clever, maybe, but also like completely impractical. Entrepreneurship, we're talking like gritty, hustler, sigma male grind set. We're talking you're in the metaphorical trenches, you're grinding it out, you're hustling your face off, you're doing what Gary Vaynerchuk says, you're eating fecal matter and you keep eating fecal matter. Uh, um, so you'd think that it's completely incompatible, and academia would be worthless in this space. But you know we can evaluate an idea for what it is and what it's trying to do. And I will attempt to use this non-accounting and non-finance model to see if we can get any, if anyone can get any sort of value out of this. Because whatever your opinions of academia may be, right or wrong, and it can be mixed also. When I see this right here, revolutionizing the world of innovation, part of me thinks you guys are just like in love with the smell of your own farts. Like, you're just so excessive. But anyways, neither here nor there. Strategizer, business model canvas. It's a template. It's a tool. Can download this. There are plenty of other free resources where you could download a blank business model canvas. And if you wanted to start up your own company, uh, this is a way to figure out what to do. But another fun thing that a person could do with the business model canvas is they could make up their own business model canvas for a company that they see that they want to invest in, or maybe they just want to understand more. And this will also like challenge your limits of understanding or your abilities for understanding, because yeah, I'm on good terms with a whole bunch of people, but ultimately I'm a person of one. Like yeah, Andrew and I, fellow co-host, and I'm on pretty good terms with other people, talk, listen, etc. But ultimately, like, I make the decisions myself. I try to do my own research. I try to do my own work. I try to wrap my head around things. And there are limits to what one person can do. So, with that being in mind, business model canvas. Here we go. Uh, First and foremost, the starting thing would be uh, toss up between, like, customer segments, value propositions. Oftentimes, customer segments probably should be the first place to start. So, like, customer segments might be I don't know, young males age 18 to 35. I don't know, like single mothers age 35 to 45. Uh, or customer segments could be outright entire companies. Could be, like, you have a lawn mowing service, and we're talking like small to medium sized businesses located in your county or in a 3 county radius or whatever. Like, I don't know, you know, every single situation. There are some counties that are uniquely shaped that have robust business, and maybe you just happen to live at a relatively close to an intersection. I don't know. Point is, you try and do your best to identify your customer segments, and then you also identify the value proposition, what the company does to provide value, uh, distinct to each customer. Because uh, for all the criticisms that capitalism has, and I want to try and avoid on stepping on too many landmines here. Um, Broadly speaking, unless we're talking like, some sort of clandestine, like mob, mafia, cartel, yakuza, triad, whatever the hell, uh, a company doesn't necessarily always get to push their weight around and force people to buy their goods or their services. So there needs to be some sort of value proposition. So, like, say for example, a company like McDonald's. In the early days of McDonald's, maybe, well, depending on how early we're talking, maybe we're talking like California, or we're just talking broad based, America. uh, the value proposition was relatively simple and elegant. Consistent food at an affordable price, or at a competitive or viable price. And like nowadays we kind of take that for granted, and nowadays we scoff at McDonald's. And the price points can certainly be argued. Uh, depending on if you use the app or not. But at the same time, though, that core value proposition of like consistent food, again, how good it is, I'll leave that for you to decide. I think we can all agree probably not the best. But at the time, it was way back when, it was a big deal. Like, it was very common for people like your servers to screw up your order and get things incredibly wrong. So your value proposition, like, it can be something as simple as that. But like, you would, in theory, would like to have a value proposition that is unique or special to each customer segment. Um, around sticking around this general area. Channels, very very important. How do you how do you deliver the value, the good, the service to your customers, and also how do the customers know about you? Which would also, like, that would kind of tie into customer relationships here. But your channels are incredibly important. Like, for in the case of going back to McDonald's, you got your franchisees, sure, but there's also probably an entire logistics behemoth that makes that happen, because restaurants don't magically have hamburgers or fries. Like, stuff has to happen for the franchisees to have those resources and to have the goods ready for the customers. um, so channels incredibly important. Maybe it is something as simple as, oh, we're a young company. Our maybe we're a young video game developer or developer. What are your channels? Well, maybe you have a unique publisher, or you just go directly yourself to Steam. Maybe you're dependent on the phone market. Maybe you're dependent on Apple's uh, store, the App Store, or maybe you're dependent on the Google Play Store, what have you. So those are important things to, like, be aware of, though, because from a operator perspective, if something goes out of whack, your business is kind of screwed. Customer relationships, again, that definitely would tie into, uh, generally speaking, as far as how I understood customer relationships, it revolved around three, three, three specific questions, and that would be: how do you get customers? How do you keep customers? How do you grow customers? So maybe, in the case of Blimsley, going back to McDonald's, you had your standard, uh, you know, uh, burger, fries, etc. Maybe you did that. You conveyed that with value meals. Oh wait, maybe you realize that families are an important customer segment. So how do you better provide value? Well, maybe you do so with a Happy Meal. I don't know, shit like that. Let me double check chat here. Da, 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 da. Thank you, Dex. Very, very elite. Um, looks like you made it. Yeah, yeah. It's with these streams. I am. Uh, I don't expect much. The fact that there's a single person decides to stick around and view for any meaningful amount of time frames is very, very nice. But yeah, yeah, Patrick. Yeah, I'm not going to input any AI. All I'm doing is just giving a model, so to speak, for people to consider. If they want to use it themselves or not. Anyways, back to the business model canvas at hand, and looking away from chat for some time. Revenue streams, very very important. Revenue streams, because you can provide value to people, and you don't necessarily need it to be a business. Like, nonprofits exist, hobbies exist. Like, and again, I am of the firm belief that, yeah, you can monetize things, but not everything necessarily needs to be monetized. Hell, like, channels not monetize itself, and we don't have the ability to click the monetize button anyways right now. So yay. Uh, um, so yeah, revenue streams. Case of Costco. Costco's an interesting one. Because, yeah, like, they do sell physical goods that a person has to pay for, that crate of, I don't know, olive oil or whatever, product insert there. But of course, like Costco has a membership thing. What does that membership thing mean? Oh, it's a subscription, revenue stream. So you can have a case where a company has multiple revenue streams. That's why, like, when you look at a company like or one of the successors of the former old behemoth that was General Electric. Revenue streams may change. Maybe you look at a older industrial company and you're like, "Oh, this is nothing. All they do is just have unit sales. That's a stupid business model." And a lot of these older companies, what they've done is also add in service revenue mix to the blend. So in the case of maybe like General Electric with the current General Electric ticker symbol GE. Uh, they make jet engines. So customer segment could be airliners, could be government, whatever. Two different customer segments. Value proposition would be the design and manufacture of specific things, and also a separate one would be also the servicing of blah 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 blah, and in which case it would also reflect in the revenue streams right there. Um, and it's funny because with the context of the business model canvas being academic in nature, one of the easiest consistent questions that I see, but thanks to different people having different professors and experiences, uh, the rankings will be a little different. But what I've noticed is customer segments, value proposition, and revenue streams, like this side, tends to be pretty high up there, whereas cost structure tends to be pretty low. And I want us to put a pin on that because I will revisit that one later. Um, but anyways, revenue streams, yeah, it's there. Um, very important. Hell, like there was a company that I was interested in, and coincidentally, purely coincidentally, Dan also was interested in. We both had a position in it, and it ended up getting bought out from underneath us. A company called Triton, where shipping containers. Um, it's a boring business. Like, it's as commodified as it gets. Stereotypically, it's been unit sales, but their novelty, their innovation was not in any sort of like manufacturing technique or quality or whatever. It was simply a business model modification where they changed things up from not only just unit sales, but they also went in towards leasing. You could lease your crates, and the way how the leasing would work, or the way how the setup was like, it made the value proposition for the shipping companies themselves. They were able to get a little bit more asset light ish, whereas like the company itself, Triton Industries, or I forget if it was Industries, but anyways, Triton themselves, doesn't matter, they got bought out. They got to have a more consistent revenue stream that was far more predictable. um, liked it, market rewarded it. Stonk price go up, and then stonk price go up even more because a Brookfield, I want to say the Brookfield infrastructure arm, ended up buying them out, which made me really sad because I honestly, Dan and I both agreed, we kind of thought that the offer was a bit of a lowball. Maybe we're wrong, but oh well. Point is, can't win them all. Not everything plays out the way you think it will. Um, anyways, key activities. So it all falls in together. Got your customer segments, got your value proposition, key activities, the things you do uh, to make those things happen. You know, I like to think that's relatively straightforward, but I guess not. Funny thing is that I don't know, like outside of like someone doing a business model canvas for like KPMG, or if they wanted to start up their own like accounting firm. I don't know if accounting necessarily always falls under key activities. And that kind of concerns me because at the time of recording right now, uh, to my knowledge, the accounting shortage is still out there, even though there are layoffs. But like, part of me worries that things are breaking, and things like I'm not being like, you know, Michael Burry doomer here, just more of a I have concerns. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's outside the scope of this video. Um, so key activities, what you do to provide that value, what you do in support of that value. Key resources is a very very nifty one, very important one, which would be like suppose your value proposition as I don't know GE or GE Aerospace uh, is patents. You have a key resource being patents. Very important, very critical. You don't have the patent, you are completely screwed. Uh, Other cases, it might be your human capital. You have a great sales force, sales team. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's great HR. What have you. Or oh no, here's one actually, like land rights. What good is an oil company if they don't own any land and have any rights to access that oil, to get that oil and distribute it, to sell it. Stuff like that. Very very important. Very very critical. Obviously, because you know, uh, say for example, we'll use myself in this case. Uh, you, the collective viewers, right now and in the future, could all give me all the monies in the world. Um, I I would it would take me a while to figure out how to start up an oil company because I would need to vet and get the correct people on board. I would need to, you know, figure out how to navigate, legal systems because I would be freaking clueless. I would be eating rocks at best. So, anyways, just silly example, but thing to point out though is like when it comes to these things, these are things that definitely do matter, and they don't always like show up in a balance sheet. Like I supposing any of us here wanted to short companies, wanted to be bearish and have bearish expressions and bearish positions. We look at someone starting up a company and we're like, oh yeah, this company's horrible. Their financials are awful. But like, what if you completely miss the fact that that their network, so to speak, is their net worth, and they have I don't know, like imagine if Elon Musk never bought Twitter, and Elon Musk was really really tight with that person, and has publicly made it known, like, this is my person, this is our company. I don't care the costs. I'll be able to keep floating it. Like you wanna go up against that. I mean, good luck. Like you as an individual, as a one person shop, you know, should consider the size and scale of things. So like, again, not everything in the world or in life neatly fits in financial statements. Financial statements capture a lot. They are very very important in 8K, 10K. Very very important, very critical. But you know it there's also other stuff to keep in mind and try to attempt to be cognizant of. Let me revisit the comments or the live chat and double check. How to start a McDonald's business course. Okay, all right. Now that would be an interesting one though, because then you wouldn't be talking about McDonald's business model canvas. You'd be talking about you, the franchise owner. In which case, that changes things dramatically as far as size and scale and what have you. When you're going to buy Coke, I don't know, no idea. Seven people in one feller. Or when you're gonna buy KDP, not sure. Don't know. Hi JP. JP, good old actual accountant. I am not one. Hence the negative 2A1G. PE. Bacon, it's easy. It's called olive oil. Yeah. Olive oil to Olive Garden. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why is there so many forms of growth? That is a good question, and I think that is something for a business operator and a business owner to be aware of, because growth for its own sake, uh, I get the appeal, I get the reasoning as to why people want that, because, like, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a business operator, many times sales is an important part of that background. And in sales, you care about that revenue, you care about that top line, you care about, you know making sure, a ticket is bought, a bit of merch is sold, whatever. um, so I get it. At the same time, though, I think that, like, if it's singular focus, that can be very, very detrimental. And I mentioned earlier, to put a pin in something, um, and I'll revisit that momentarily. Business is easy, growth my oath. Gonna go back to the window here, and yeah, key partnerships. Key partnerships would be stuff that are important to your company, but things that you cannot or should not do yourself necessarily. So maybe you are a company that knows that R&D is very, very important. Uh, Also, like, you don't want to rock the metaphorical apple cart or rock the boat too much. In which case, you can have joint ventures. Uh, you can have different sorts of structures where there's a sort of key partnership between you and another company that's completely out of your industry sector, or maybe even you and a competitor. And that has happened. Hell, like, if we look at the world of, like, online streaming, the early days of Hulu, like, Disney and Fox were technically competitors in the media landscape. The If I recall correctly, I think it was Fox. But yeah, like, they had, like, ownership, like, shared ownership in Hulu. Um, so, like, if you were Disney, or like, doing a business model canvas for Disney, you put that in there. You can kind of see how, like, this business model canvas kind of makes some sense here. Like, it's not like just pie in the sky, and it isn't just about, oh, innovation and disruption just for, its own sake. Like, there's I'd like to think that there's a little bit of practicality here. Like, not all models are perfect. And there are some bits of silliness here. But I like to think that, it kind of somewhat makes sense. Key partnerships, uh yeah, key partnerships. The fun ones might also be like your Etsy store page, or um, maybe you have some sort of unique relationship with Google. um, yeah, again, put a pin on that. There's something that I'm hinting at here, but we'll revisit that. Cost structure, last one. It- I get it, from entrepreneurship perspective. This one probably matters the least, because you just want to get your company to survive. Um, but cost structure matters, and what where your dollars go into and how it's being dispensed would fall under cost structure. How do you expense R&D? How do you pay for your R&D? Maybe it's very, very critical that you have training programs for a really cool sales force or sales team. Maybe this, that, and the third. uh Shoot, which pin do I want to pull back on? All right, you know what? I'll pull back on the what I mentioned way back when. And that would be, like, the prioritization of each and every single box. And part of me thinks that there is no clear answer that neatly fits on a test or neatly should be a textbook thing for consultants. Then again, I'm not a consultant. No interest in being a consultant, so I don't know how that world operates. But um, certainly, in the perspective of academia, I don't think there's a one size fits all model here. Because suppose you are a McDonald's or a General Electric or insert older mature company name here. Um, you know, uh, is it really really important that you expand into a new customer segment, change up your value proposition, and increase your costs if your revenue stream isn't going to increase like proportionally or outsize the cost implications? Um, Maybe not. Like maybe that's a really really dumb and horrible idea. Like stereotypically, the airlines, like as they have been operating and currently operate. Uh, there was a period decades ago where I think it was either United or American, were like CEOs like, "Oh yes, we got a huge amount of sales, best sales numbers ever," and they screwed up their cost structure and you know really really screwed up that business at the time. So again, growth for its own sake, that's silly, that's stupid. Because when it comes to the world of entrepreneurship, there's the types where you would acquire or have and operate an existing or older company, and older companies maybe they need a different sort of mindset, a different sort of grind set. Like wonderful example, like him, love him, hate him, or whatever. Steve Jobs. For a good long while, man was idolized, but like he definitely did screw up like earlier on with his time with Apple, and he goes off, does successful with Pixar. Maybe improves his network, maybe improves himself. Comes back and hits the ground hard and gets the ball going in a better direction. Like people, the right person for the right time for the company. It's not easy, and that kind of is one of those things that's not on this canvas. Like there's a lot of things with the business model canvas that are not very very sufficient. Like when it comes to a value proposition, you could be like a fashion company or a clothing retailer, and you'd be like, oh, value proposition, trendy or novel or new or whatever, and you're targeting that age demographic that cares about that sort of thing. um but like you're, as much as you'd be inclined to say, oh, this is good, part of me thinks like it's just life, and life is messy, and businesses can be messy. uh like if you're gonna have like a customer segment of where, I don't know, like a big company, Microsoft accounts for 80% of your revenue, and I don't know, like trickles down to like 90% of your bottom line or whatever number. um Somehow, like, yeah, you can have a successful business, but like part of me also would be like sweating bullets. Part of me would be like whatever sort of like hock to a treatment we can give to Microsoft, we're going to need to do that until like we get more customers and get more business. And like, because that'd be like incredibly scary. Microsoft says, now we're going in a different direction, or oh, the department that you work with is closed. We will be no longer like require your services. You are screwed. And that can be the case with, like, again, that value proposition of like trendy or new, or novel or whatever. Is the world keeps changing. There are a huge amount of competitors out there for whatever thing. There are also respectable forces with a whole bunch of muscle and firepower. Not everybody is stagnant or incompetent, and incompetence can vary. Like maybe they're really good where it counts, and it's hard. It's tough. This is difficult. This is this is the business we have chosen for ourselves. So, anyways, I'm back to here. Let me take a look. Bunger and fries tonight. Very nice. Making sense. Cool. Sleeping on DLB and Sony, maybe. Uh, Par- Perion. Yeah, there's actually a reference because that actually was a company where a large chunk of their dollary dues came in from Microsoft, and they may or may not have gotten completely hammered by that. um, so yeah, no, that's one thing. So like your entries for your business model canvas, I think should be taken as just it is, and we probably should consider what uh, if that thing is good or not, um, because or like what are the trade offs, what are the pros and cons to each every single like component. Another fun one is businesses change. Obviously, mentioned that before. People change, so do businesses. Like you look at the history of Nintendo. Like, shoot, what did Nintendo do? Like, I want to say, didn't they have like a taxi cab service or a whole bunch of like other things that were not video games or consoles? Businesses change. So, like, wouldn't that be fun to like have a business model canvas of like a company like Nintendo and see how that changes over time? And that's one thing though is like what's more important, the business model canvas of today or the business model canvas of tomorrow? Very, very difficult because we're talking about a moving world where targets are moving. um, it's not everything is necessarily like neatly static, and you get to take your time and slowly breathe properly and then squeeze a metaphorical pew pew mechanism. uh, so there's that to consider. Here's a fun one though that will actually I will give fairness to the business model canvas of, and that would be competitors. Where on the business model canvas are there for competitors? But that I think is the neat thing is that the competitors would be their own specific business model canvas. Like I mentioned Costco earlier. Well, you'd have also ideally, maybe if you think that this thing has merit, you'd do a business model canvas for Walmart, and you attempt to bang rocks that way. Uh, but like I think what I'm getting at is that this model, whether you like it, hate it, have mixed feelings about it. Um, if we consider the people who it's from, because this thing is relatively not that old when all things are considered. Like when it comes to like things that academia will talk about, I think this thing like roughly started early days, like in the 1990s. So it's not that old, like all things considered. Um, but like the I think like the merits of this, there's some possible potential here, and that's fine. That's good. Um, maybe not, maybe not. It's also fine and good, but like it does raise again, like I referenced very very early on in this whole entire thing. It challenging, like like because if you wanted to be an investor and you tried to have your business model canvas for a company you wanted to look at as a possible investment and its competitors, the that's a lot of like human hours to try and be accurate. And even if you wanted to try and do something novel like, oh, the future business model canvas for company that you're interested in and competitors or peer group, um like freaking hell, that's really really tough. Like you're going to need a team. You're going to need some serious money because odds are you're probably going to want to like talk and engage with management, probably. And even then, like not all competitors are like have publicly available info. Like some of them are, like mom and pops, and some of them might be like, "Oh, you're a fancy suited boy. Get the hell off my lawn." or like what have you. Like not everybody's willing to be open and honest or like forthcoming with that info. So it's tough. It's tough. So maybe all of this is just an exercise in futility. Maybe you, my dear viewers and chat, get to see me struggle and flail about for your entertainment. And if that's not a state of how things are, I don't know what is. But yeah. Anyways, so I figured that this is a neat, different way to operate, and I think the spirit of what I wanted to do arguably has merit because like full and fair disclosure, I've engaged or I've interacted and talked with Fabio in the past, and one of the things that like struck me as interesting was when I asked him like what sort of like blind spots he often sees with investors or people that want to invest or try to invest. He says not like one consistent fault is not enough people think like business operators. And who the hell are the business operators? Some of them are managers, yeah, and some of them are entrepreneurial. And trying to get in that headspace and trying to somewhat think like that or have a relative middle ground um, can be somewhat useful. And academia, by no means am I saying it's all perfect and should always be worshipped. It's just more of a this is something that has come out of there. Maybe there's something there. And it's a model. Like you're fully able to improve upon it, make your own based off it, or do whatevs. And I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be really interesting because maybe there's merit in something like that. And just respecting that it would be a challenge, and whatever it is, it's a challenge. But then again, in life, if it isn't if it isn't something that you find fun or exciting or worthy of trying to put at least some effort into, then is it even worth doing? I don't know, but anyways, on that end and on that note, I should probably talk about future stuff. Future stuff. I'll. I'm gonna try to have some um, somewhat of a semi-regular thing for winter break. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Maybe like a video or two, or like a live or two, like every other week or every week for around winter time frame. That'd be awesome. That'd be neat. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there's like a family vacation on my end that I don't know about and will hit me. If that happens, then that idea completely gets torpedoed. But yeah, I will say that Andrew has gotten significantly busy. It's not my place to say, what's happening, what's been going on. Um, some of you in chat already know. But out of respect for privacy and so on and so forth, I know my place. But anyways, so again, no promises on what the future thing will be because I know that there's a friggin' massive backlog that people have ideas for on that are more advanced in nature, and some that are like I can do easily myself. So again, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. Hope you all have a good one, and I will see you all around. Until then, thank you for sticking around. Have a good one, y'all, and happy belated Thanksgiving to those that celebrate.